Greetings and hello. Thank you again, Pastor Tyra Alexander, and the SHERO Network for the opportunity to come before you again this year and share as we talk about the courage to change. Now, those of you who know me know that my platform, my ministry, my passion, my purpose is to speak into the lives of women and to encourage women, to help women move to a different space, place in their lives, to help them to become the best version of themselves in all ways, to help them to realize their dreams and their goals and aspirations and just begin to make a difference and an impact in the world as they were destined to do so. So when we talk about the topic of the subject of the strength or the courage to change, I'm challenged. And I'm challenged because I happen to know that this is a challenge area for women. Change. Moving to a space in a place that is unfamiliar, and sometimes uncomfortable, but most of all unknown. And we do it with hesitancy, but we don't realize that we do it. There's some things in life that are absolute, and one of them is change. Whether we participate or not, change is going to happen. We've seen evidence and proof positive of that this past year, 2020. The year started out one way. We lived through it, and now we're on the other side, and we can say thank you. But it was nothing like we ever thought or imagined or even experienced before. Change came knocking at our door and then forced its way in. Wasn't anything we signed up for, anything we freely participated in or freely welcomed. It happened beyond our control, beyond our say-so, without any regard for us personally or individually. The change came. And the change needed to happen in many ways. But while we may have been resistant and we may have been hesitant and we may have been uncomfortable and we may have complained and we may have muffled spoken under our breath, we did it. We embraced it. We adjusted. We adapted. We conformed, and we changed. Some cases, maybe not all of us, but for the most part, the majority of us, we began to wear masks. We began to social distance. We became mindful and cautious of others around us. We stopped hugging and embracing each other as freely as we used to do before. We stopped passing out kisses. We stopped allowing people to hold our babies, get too close proximity in our personal space. All changes that happen as a result of the atmosphere of 2020. We did it. And those of you who are listening to this today, we're thankful enough to say that we made it in, through, and out. We're on the other side now, and we have a lot to be thankful for. We've lost a lot in that process, but again, those were changes that were outside of our control. We had nothing to do with, and we could do nothing to stop them. But as we talk about from this point on, the courage to change, there are areas in our lives that still may warrant some change. There are areas in our lives that still may warrant us doing something different. There are areas in our lives where opportunities are available for us to make the change. But for whatever the reason, we still operate at times from a place of hesitancy, from a place of resistance, and a place of denial. And all three of those really, and others could probably be connected to a place of fear. It's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of new territory. It's the fear of being rejected and not accepted. It's the fear of being overlooked and dismissed. It's the fear of not being able to live up to and into the expectations that are put upon us. They're all different reasons and levels of fear associated at times with why we will not embrace change, or why we don't have the courage to change. Now, the funny thing about courage and doing things based on courage, what we have to realize is that courage does not necessarily mean that we're not frightened, but it means that in spite of being afraid, we do it anyway. I think Joyce Myers had a book a few years ago that said, "Do it afraid." It takes courage to do it afraid. It takes courage to step in, to step out of, to embrace, to consider, to look at, to take advantage of something that is different or something that you're not used to. It takes courage to move into a space or into a place or into a situation. It takes courage to move to a new city. Are you afraid? Yes, but you do it anyway. Because in some way or another, you recognize the value and the benefit to making the change. If I could do a personal testimony right here. Lived in Memphis for 15 years. And I am originally from New Orleans. And while I wanted to come home, I kept putting up objections and reasons as to why shouldn't come home and one time to come home. And I did the classical, God ain't told me to come home yet. We put so much stuff on God. We blame so much stuff on God. We make God responsible for our inactivity. We make God responsible for our activity. We make God responsible for our beliefs. We make God responsible for our unbeliefs. We put so much on God. Now, I know God is in control. God has the last say. God dictates the movement in us, in this world, and on this earth. I know all of that. And lots of times God has spoken. God has given direction. God has given clarity. God has placed the assignment before you and before us. And we still find ways to deny it or resist it and then blame it on God. But it was last year in October when it was clear, it was really clear that it was time to come back home. Now, I didn't want to come back home because I didn't know what I was coming back home to do. I had a very comfortable position at church in Memphis for 15 years. I lived in a neighborhood where I loved my neighbors and my neighbors loved me, and we shared life together. My husband had a good job. He was comfortable on his job, and we were okay. We were doing just fine. And I just was like, I don't know what I'm gonna have to deal with when I go home. I don't know what I'm gonna have to face when I come home. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find a job. I don't know if the people are going to embrace me when I return home. Because when I left home, I was Jeralyn B. Major. I'm returning home as Dr. Jeralyn B. Major. I have plenty to say. I have plenty to do. I have many lives to touch. There's a lot that I've built some things here in Memphis. I've established some relationships here in Memphis. I've knocked down some doors here in Memphis. Now I'm going to have to go back to New Orleans and basically start all over again. That wasn't a change that I fully embraced. That wasn't a change that I said, okay, I'm ready, let's go. No, that wasn't it. That was not the reality. The reality was that I was afraid of what I would have to face, or what I would have to deal with, or what I would have to encounter, how I would be seen, how I would be accepted, how I would be allowed into spaces and places when I returned home. So I hesitated. And then finally, the hesitation became uncomfortable. It's like one of my favorite quotes by Anise Nin that says, and the risk to blossom became more, the risk to stay in a bud became more painful than the risk to blossom. The risk to stay in a bud became more painful than the risk to blossom. I outgrew everything. Doors started to be closed. Things started to shift. Another change was taking place beyond my control. And I could stand and try and fight it and resist it and be hesitant and stomp my feet and fold my arms and say what I wasn't going to do. And I wasn't responding and I wasn't receiving. And I could have rebuked and everything else. But the change, it was time for the change. And the change needed to happen. Well, luckily, I had a support system. I had a support system in Memphis. I had a support system here in New Orleans. The folks in Memphis said, go, we got you. We're going to cover you. We're going to pray with you. You will only be down the road. We come and visit. Just because you're leaving the city does not mean you're leaving us. And then when I got home, it was like, oh, we're so glad you're back. Can you do this for us? We've been missing you, but we've been watching you. We've been following you, so you know what's going on. Is it fully 100% what I would like it to be? No. But had I not made the change, again, it would have been more uncomfortable than making the change. And that's what we need to recognize. That's sometimes what we need to think about is, what does it look on either side? What does it look like on either side? We may not be able to see all that is coming as a result of the change, but the very fact that there is a prompting, a sensing, or an urgency to do something different is a signal that the change has to happen. I think about walking this journey and living this life. I said that change is absolute. It's going to happen no matter what. Another thing that's absolute in life is the fact that we do not and cannot live in this world alone. We need the support of others. And that support can come in the form of family, immediate family, close family, immediate family, extended family. And that support can come in those that are like family. Sometimes the support can even come by way of a stranger. But the key to any and all of that is positioning ourselves in advance in those relationships, in those situations, and in those circumstances that people know us and people live sometimes in close enough proximity to us to be able to see that there is a sensing or prompting towards a change in your life. And at the same time, to be able to see or to be able to know or to be able to hear what you might need to prompt you to move into that change. In my ministry, I think I may have said this earlier, I work with a lot of women. I've been working with women since 1991. Of late, I've been working with a lot of women who are called into service, into leadership, be it in the church, be it in the community, be it in businesses, be it in organizations. They serve and lead in their various settings. Sometimes they lead and serve from the second or the third chair, sometimes even a little bit further back than that. But in times of crisis, they're called to move into the lead chair and assume the role temporarily. I have one friend who had been called into that space and that place at least 4 different times, temporarily, to lead during a void, during an absence, as a result of somebody else walking away. And she readily embraced it. She stepped up, did what she had to do, carried what needed to be carried for the time that the assignment was hers. And then when a replacement was found, she stepped back down, stepped back into the second chair, the third chair, whatever chair you want to identify as. And I watched this for a few years. I experienced each time that she was called to operate, to temporarily move into this new space, that this change was put before her and she embraced the change and moved forward, knowing that it was a temporary assignment. And because of the relationship that we had, because I had been in close proximity, and because I had observed and spent time, I was comfortable enough to ask her the question this last time: why don't you pursue that permanently? Why is it that you keep stepping up when there is a crisis or when there is a need, doing the job, fulfilling the assignment, having them to continue on as if there is no void, and then return back when they identify someone else? And she initially hunched her shoulders. And I asked her, I said, is it because you don't want to? Do you not believe that you can? Or do you not believe that you're called to operate in that assignment? And she said to me, I'm called, but not in that environment. And I thought about that. And I asked the question again. I said, why? I said, you've done it temporarily at least 3 or 4 times. Why is it that you're not called to lead, for lack of a better word, at a senior level permanently? And when she was ready to be honest and open, it was out of fear, because of some of the practices and the beliefs that had been embedded in those that she was called to give leadership to. She was afraid that if she decided to pursue it at a greater level, she would be rejected. She would be denied. She would be dismissed. 3 reasons why we sometimes are hesitant to pursue change. Because we feel we'll be rejected. We feel we'll be denied. We feel we'll be resisted. I could add a 4th one and say that we feel we won't be respected. But regardless of any of those things, if the prompting is for you to change at that level, then you need to seek the way, seek the support, own the assignment, and move forward. Seek the way, seek the support, own the assignment, and move forward. Sounds easy. Nah, it's not easy. By no means is it easy. Nothing in life comes easy. Sometimes we like to believe it does, but the truth of the matter, it doesn't. Everything is a process. Everything requires time, dedication, commitment, consistency. In the process, we have to develop resilience. We have to have fortitude. We have to have strength. We have to have courage. And a lack of any of those is not an automatic dismissal of us fulfilling the assignment. We have to tap into what we know we do have. We have to tap into what we know is our strength. We have to tap into the support that we are assured of and begin the process, begin the journey. I told y'all early on that my mission, my purpose, my passion is to work with women. And one of the things that I encourage women to do is to have those relationships with other women that can help you when you reach or when you have to deal with the vicissitudes of life. To have relationships with other women that can help you to clarify some things. That would be your sister clarifier, who can help you to clarify some things, so you can sit down and have a conversation with and say the things that are in your mind and on your heart and in your spirit, and confess at the same time, I don't understand. This is not making sense to me. I can't seem to get clarity on this. And if that sister has lived in relationship with you close enough, long enough, she should be able to help you talk some things out, think some things out, walk some things out, to where the handwriting on the wall that was a blur is now beginning to come into focus. We need a clarifier in our relationship, in our lives, to live out this journey, to embrace the change that comes over and over and over again, and consistently. We need a clarifier. Not only do we need a clarifier, we need a collaborator, because in embracing change and moving into change, there are going to be some things, there are going to be some places, there are going to be some spaces that everybody ain't going to go with you. But if you got that collaborator who understands the importance of getting you to where you need to be, she will go with you. She will be with you. She'll push you at times, hold your hand at times, and at times blow, so that you can move forward in what it is that you're supposed to be pursuing. In addition to a clarifier and a collaborator, you also need a connector who can usher your name in a room and in a space and in a place where you might not normally have access to, but they do. A connector who knows people, who knows about opportunities, who knows about different things that might be a benefit to you and can connect you with those things. So you're going to need a clarifier, you need a collaborator, you need a connector. Not only do you need those three, you also need someone who can calm you down, someone who can bring you from reality denial into reality adjustment, someone who can speak the words to you that are comforting, soothing, and peaceful, to bring you back to the space where you can think and focus and begin to embrace what it is that you've been assigned and called to do and how to live out in this life. And there's one more I want to encourage you to add to your immediate tribe, your immediate squad, your immediate sisterhood, your close connect. I'm flipping pages because I can't find it right now, this very second. But the fifth person that you need to add to your squad is I just wrote this, y'all. Bear with me. Confidant. It's a confidant. Somebody you can share your utmost with and not be fearful that it's going to appear on the wings of a dove. A confidant who you can pour out your heart to, give your secret, your fears, your insecurities, your strengths, your weaknesses, your challenges, your concerns. A confidant, someone who you can hold in high regard, knowing that whatever you share with them, it won't be used against you, is what I like to say. So to walk out this journey, to live this life, to begin to develop the courage to change, you need to surround yourself with a support system, preferably of sisters who are connected to you and have been connected to you over an extended time. And you know what else you need in that group? You need a cheerleader. You need somebody who's going to pick up their pom-poms and say, go for it. You need somebody who's going to kick up their heels and say, you can do it. You need somebody who's going to twirl a baton, shout the loudest and pick up a megaphone when you do accomplish it and say, I told you you could do it. I knew you had it in you. I knew this is where you were supposed to be going. And now that you're here, I need you to blossom. You've been blooming in other spaces. You know, you made it known that your presence is here. You've been blooming. You've been just a little pretty bud, a little open flower. But now I need you to burst forth and come fully into what you were created to be. I need you to have the courage to embrace the change, to accept the change, to operate in the change, to master and conquer the change. Because as sure as you do this one, another one is right around the corner waiting for you, screaming your name and slowly moving closer and closer and closer and closer to you. Because if we don't know anything else about life, this we do know, that change is obsolete. And it is going to come whether we participate or not. So let's make the best of it. Let's embrace it. And let's begin to prepare for it by recognizing the fact that it is going to come. I thank you for the opportunity to come and share with you. I do hope and pray that you were blessed, encouraged, and uplifted, inspired in some way by this message. And that when the next opportunity presents for you to make a change in your life, that you get together with your girlfriends and you sit down and you evaluate what it could look like if you would move forward in what you're being directed to do. And once you've discussed it with them, and once you've talked about it with those closer that you need to talk about, and once you've gotten clarity of direction from God, that you would have the courage to move forward into the change that is destined and purpose for your life. Be blessed. Take care. This is Dr. Jeralyn B. Major, the leadership coach, growth and renewal counselor, spiritual director. Have a blessed day.